At 2:47 a.m. on a freezing January night, Elon Musk vanished. No press release, no board meetings, no warnings to his companies worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Just a private jet cutting through the darkness, carrying the world's richest man, his 4-year-old son, and a secret that had been buried for 37 years. Tesla's stock would crash. The media would explode with theories. Conspiracy theorists would claim alien abduction. But the truth was far more extraordinary. Hidden in a cave in the South African desert, in the same red earth where young Elon once escaped his bullies, lay a discovery his grandmother had protected with her life. A meteorite fragment from beyond our galaxy. Technology that could make the stars reachable in a single human lifetime. When Elon's plane disappeared from radar, heading east across the Atlantic, only one person knew why. A grandmother who died in 2011 but whose final message would change everything. "Come home," it said. "The future is waiting where your past began." This is the story of a midnight flight that shocked the world, and the impossible discovery that would transform humanity's destiny forever. The black SUV pulled up to the private terminal at Austin Bergstrom International Airport at exactly 2:47 a.m. The January air was cold and sharp. Elon Musk stepped out first, his hoodie pulled up over his head. In his arms, wrapped in a warm blanket, was his youngest son. "Daddy, why are we leaving in the dark?" X asked, rubbing his sleepy eyes. The 4-year-old clutched his favorite stuffed rocket ship against his chest. Elon knelt down on the cold concrete and looked into his son's curious face. Even at this early hour, X's eyes sparkled with questions. It reminded Elon of himself as a child, always wondering, always asking why. "Sometimes the most important journeys start when nobody's watching," Elon whispered. He touched his son's cheek gently. "Are you ready for an adventure?" X nodded, suddenly more awake. "Like the astronauts." "Exactly like the astronauts." Marcus Chen, Elon's head of security, stood nearby. He scanned the empty tarmac with careful eyes. Marcus had worked for Elon for 7 years. In that time, he'd seen many strange things. Late-night factory visits, emergency flights to rocket launch sites. But this trip felt different. Marcus didn't know where they were going. Elon had only told him to pack for warm weather and to tell absolutely nobody. The SpaceX private jet waited on the runway, its engines humming softly. The white plane gleamed under the airport lights. On its side, the SpaceX logo stood out in bold letters. Captain Sarah Rodriguez appeared at the top of the stairs. She was one of SpaceX's best pilots. She'd flown Elon everywhere from California to Cape Canaveral, but tonight even she seemed confused. "Mr. Musk," she called down. "The flight plan is filed, but sir, are you sure about this? It's a very long journey." Elon climbed the stairs with X on his hip. "I've never been more sure of anything, Sarah." Inside the jet, everything was quiet. The cabin smelled like leather and coffee. Elon settled X into one of the comfortable seats and buckled him in. The boy's stuffed rocket ship sat in his lap. Through the window, Elon could see the lights of Austin spreading out below them. Somewhere in that city, Tesla's gigafactory hummed with activity, building electric cars that were changing the world. The Texas headquarters stood tall, a symbol of everything he'd built in America. But tonight, none of that mattered. Elon pulled out his phone and looked at the last message from his mother. May Musk had sent it 3 weeks ago. Just one sentence. "I found something of your grandmother's. You need to come see it immediately." He'd called her right away. "Mom, what is it? What did you find?" Her voice had been shaking. That scared him. His mother never shook. She'd raised 3 children mostly alone. She'd worked as a model into her 70s. She'd survived everything life threw at her. But on that phone call, she'd sounded like she'd seen a ghost. "I can't tell you over the phone," she'd said. "This is something you have to see, something Cora left behind." Cora, his grandmother. She died 15 years ago, but Elon thought about her almost every day. She'd been the one person who truly believed in him when he was just a weird kid in South Africa who loved computers and dreamed about space. The plane's engines grew louder. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the speakers. "Mr. Musk, we're cleared for takeoff. Flight time will be approximately 16 hours with 1 refueling stop." Marcus sat across from Elon. "Sir, I still think we should have told someone. Your team at SpaceX is going to panic when they can't reach you." Elon shook his head. "They'll be fine for a few days. This is more important. Can you at least tell me where we're going?" Elon opened his laptop. The screen glowed in the dark cabin. There was one email with no subject line. He'd received it 2 days ago from an address he didn't recognize. Inside were only coordinates: 28,915 degrees S, 24,7,570 degrees E. Below the numbers, just 2 words: come home. Elon had checked the coordinates immediately. His hands had started trembling when he saw the location. He'd stared at his screen for almost an hour, memories flooding back. Memories of red dirt roads, memories of endless sky, memories of a place he'd left 40 years ago but never truly forgot. Marcus leaned forward, trying to see the screen. "What's there?" "My beginning," Elon said softly. The plane lifted off the runway. Elon felt the familiar push against his seat as they climbed into the night sky. X made little airplane noises, his hands flying the stuffed rocket through the air. Austin disappeared behind them, then Texas, then America itself. Elon looked out the window at the stars. They seemed brighter than usual tonight. Or maybe he was just paying more attention. He thought about his grandmother again, about the last thing she'd ever said to him. It was 2011. She was in the hospital. Elon had flown to South Africa to see her one last time. He'd held her fragile hand and told her about his plans for SpaceX, about how he wanted to go to Mars. She'd smiled, even though she was so weak. "Elon, you've always dreamed big, but don't forget to look back sometimes. The answers to tomorrow often hide in yesterday." He hadn't understood what she meant then. Maybe he was about to find out. X yawned and leaned against his father's arm. "Daddy, are we going to space?" Elon wrapped his arm around his son. "Not yet, buddy, but we're going somewhere just as special." "Where?" "You'll see when we get there." X seemed satisfied with that answer. Within minutes, his breathing slowed. The stuffed rocket slipped from his hands. Elon caught it and tucked it under his son's arm. Outside the window, the Atlantic Ocean stretched out below them, dark and endless. Somewhere on the other side was the answer to the mysterious email. Somewhere on the other side was home. Elon pulled out his phone one more time. He started typing a message to his team at SpaceX. "Working on something important. We'll explain soon. Trust me." His finger hovered over the send button. Then he deleted it. Some journeys had to happen in silence. Some secrets had to stay secret until the right moment. He put his phone in airplane mode and closed his eyes. The plane flew east, carrying a father and son toward a destination that would shock the world. But none of the billions of people sleeping below had any idea that one of the most powerful men on Earth had just disappeared into the night. Only the stars knew where they were going. Stars weren't telling. Elon couldn't sleep. Even though the plane's cabin was dark and quiet, his mind raced with memories. Memories of a place he hadn't called home in decades, Pretoria, South Africa. He was born there in 1971, during a time when the country was torn apart by apartheid. It was a system that separated people by the color of their skin. Even as a young boy, Elon knew it was wrong. He'd seen the pain it caused, the unfairness of it all. His childhood wasn't easy. His father, Elon Musk, was an engineer. His mother, May, was a beautiful model and dietitian who worked hard to feed 3 children. Money was tight, the family struggled, but young Elon found his escape in books. He read everything he could find: encyclopedias, science fiction novels, books about space and computers. While other kids played sports, Elon lived in worlds of imagination, but school was torture. At Bryanston High School, the other boys saw Elon as different, too quiet, too smart, too lost in his own thoughts. They made him their target. One day when Elon was 15, a group of boys cornered him. They pushed him, punched him, then they threw him down a concrete staircase. Elon landed hard at the bottom. He couldn't breathe, everything hurt. He spent a week in the hospital. His nose was broken. His body was covered in bruises. But the worst pain was inside, the feeling that he didn't belong anywhere, except one place. On the plane, Elon reached into his pocket and pulled out an old photograph. The edges were worn from years of touching. It showed a woman standing next to a small airplane. She was smiling, her eyes full of adventure. Cora Amelia Robinson, his grandmother. She owned a farm about an hour outside Pretoria, 260 acres of African bushland. It was Elon's favorite place in the world. Whenever life got too hard, his mother would send him to stay with Grandma Cora. The farm had red dirt roads that stretched forever, thorn trees that provided shade from the hot sun, and at night the sky was filled with more stars than Elon could count. Grandma Cora was unlike anyone else. She wasn't afraid of anything. In her younger years, she'd flown a single-engine plane from South Africa all the way to Australia, by herself. Everyone said it was crazy. She said it was necessary. Never let fear stop you from seeing what's on the other side, she told young Elon. He remembered one specific day when he was 10 years old. They were walking together through her property. The African sun beat down on them. Grasshoppers jumped away from their footsteps. "Elon," she'd said, stopping to look at him, "do you know why the sky here is so special?" He'd shaken his head. She pointed up. "Because we're in the southern hemisphere, you can see different stars than people in America or Europe. You can see the Southern Cross, the Magellanic Clouds, things that most of the world never sees." Young Elon stared up at the endless blue. "Never forget where you come from," Grandma Cora continued. Her voice was serious. "These stars, this land, this sky, it's in your blood. Someday, when you're far away, you'll need to remember. You'll need to come back to understand where you're going." At the time, Elon didn't understand. He was just a kid who liked computers and hated school. But now, 35 years later, flying through the night sky, her words made perfect sense. A hand touched Elon's shoulder. He looked up. Marcus stood there, his face concerned. "Sir, you've been staring at that photo for 20 minutes, Marcus said quietly. "Are you okay?" Elon wiped his eyes. He hadn't realized he was crying. "My grandmother died in 2011, Elon said. 15 years ago. I was with her at the hospital in Pretoria. I held her hand while she took her last breath." Marcus sat down across from him. "I'm sorry. She told me something that day. She was so weak, could barely speak. But she grabbed my hand tight and said, 'Elon, you've always dreamed big, but don't forget to look back sometimes. The answers to tomorrow often hide in yesterday.'" What did she mean? Elon looked at the mysterious email on his laptop screen. The coordinates, the words "come home." "I don't know," he admitted, "but I'm about to find out." Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "Sir, we'll be landing in 12 hours. Are you sure about this? The media will go crazy when they realize you're gone. Tesla's stock might drop. People will panic." Elon looked at his sleeping son. X was curled up in his seat, peaceful and safe. The stuffed rocket was tucked under his chin. "Some things are bigger than headlines, Marcus," Elon said. "Some things are bigger than stock prices or Twitter posts or what people think. This is one of those things." "What if it's a trap? What if someone is using your grandmother's memory to?" "It's not a trap," Elon interrupted. His voice was certain. "I can feel it. Something is waiting for me in South Africa. Something important. Something that Grandma Cora wanted me to find." Outside the window, the sky was starting to change. The darkness was giving way to deep purple. Dawn was coming. Elon looked at the photograph one more time. His grandmother smiled back at him from across the years. He remembered her laugh, her strength, her absolute belief that impossible things were possible. "I'm coming home, Grandma," he whispered, "just like you asked." The plane landed at OR Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg just after sunrise. The African sun was already warm, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. X pressed his face against the window. "Daddy, look at the colors." Elon smiled. His son had never been to Africa before. Everything would be new and magical to him. "Welcome to Africa, buddy," Elon said, unbuckling X's seatbelt. "This is where Daddy was born." "Really?" X's eyes went wide. "You were born here, like actually born?" "Actually born, right in this country." 3 black SUVs waited on the tarmac. Marcus had arranged everything. They couldn't go through the regular airport. Too many people, too many cameras. Someone would recognize Elon immediately and then the secret would be out. As they drove away from Johannesburg, Elon watched the city pass by. So much had changed since he'd lived here. The buildings were taller. The roads were better. But something about it still felt the same. Still felt like home. They drove through Pretoria, where Elon had spent his childhood. He showed X the streets where he used to walk, the areas where he'd played. Everything looked smaller than he remembered. "Did you have friends here, Daddy?" X asked. Elon paused. "Not many. I was kind of a lonely kid, but that's okay. Sometimes being alone helps you think." "I don't like being alone," X said. I know, son, you're different than I was, you're braver. They kept driving north. The city disappeared behind them. Now there were just wide-open spaces, grasslands, hills in the distance, the landscape of Elon's childhood memories. After 6 hours of driving, everything changed. The green grass turned to red dirt, trees became sparse. They'd entered the Karoo Desert, one of the most ancient places on Earth. X's eyes grew even wider. Daddy, what is this place? This is the Karoo, Elon explained. It's a desert, but not like the ones in movies with sand dunes. This desert has been here for millions of years. Dinosaurs once walked here. Real dinosaurs. Real dinosaurs. Scientists find their bones here all the time. As they drove deeper into the Karoo, X saw herds of springbok. The beautiful antelopes leaped across the red earth, their white and brown bodies graceful in the sunlight. They're jumping so high, X shouted. Springboks can jump up to 13 feet, Elon said. That's higher than our SUV. Finally, after what felt like forever, they reached a small town called Carnarvon. Only about 4,000 people lived there. Most of the buildings were old. The streets were quiet, but Carnarvon had something special, something that most people in the world didn't know about. As they drove past the town, X pointed at the sky. Daddy, what are those big white things? Elon looked. Giant satellite dishes dotted the landscape. They looked like enormous ears listening to space. Those are radio telescopes, Elon explained. They listen to sounds from space, from stars and galaxies far away. Can they hear aliens? Maybe someday, Elon said with a smile. People are definitely trying. They pulled up to a small building. The sign read, South African Radio Astronomy Observatory. A woman came out to meet them. She was about 50 years old with gray hair and kind eyes. She wore a simple blue dress and glasses. Mr. Musk, she said, extending her hand. I'm Dr. Naledi Cumulo. I've been waiting a long time for you to come. Elon shook her hand. You knew I was coming. Your mother called me 3 weeks ago. She told me about the journal. Elon's heart raced. What journal? Dr. Cumulo smiled. Come inside, there's something you need to see. They followed her into the building. The walls were covered with pictures of space, galaxies, nebulas, stars being born and dying. X stared at everything with wonder. Dr. Cumulo led them to a small office. She closed the door and pulled out an old file from her desk. The file was marked, classified 1989. What is this? Elon asked. Your grandmother worked here, Dr. Cumulo said quietly. Not officially, not on any records, but in 1989 something happened. Something that I've kept secret for 37 years. She opened the file. Inside were photographs of what looked like a rock, but it wasn't a normal rock. It was dark, almost black, with strange angles and patterns. What am I looking at? Elon asked. A meteorite fragment, Dr. Cumulo said, but not like any meteorite we'd ever seen before. It fell to Earth somewhere in the Karoo in 1988. A farmer found it and brought it to us. We studied it for months. She pulled out another photograph. This one showed a younger version of herself, standing next to a familiar woman. Elon's breath caught in his throat. That's my grandmother. Yes, Cora came to work with us on this project. She wasn't a scientist, but she was brilliant. She understood things that the rest of us couldn't see. What things? Dr. Cumulo looked Elon straight in the eyes. She believed this meteorite wasn't from our solar system. She believed it came from another galaxy. And Mr. Musk, after all these years of research, I believe she was right. The room went silent. Even X seemed to sense that something important was happening. Where is it now? Elon asked. Where's the meteorite? Dr. Cumulo handed him a sealed envelope. It was old and yellow with age. On the front, in beautiful handwriting, were 3 words, for Elon only. Elon's hands shook as he opened it. Inside was a letter from his grandmother. The paper smelled old, but the ink was still clear. He began to read aloud. My dearest Elon, if you're reading this, you've already accomplished more than I could have imagined. You've built electric cars. You've sent rockets to space. You've changed the world. But there's one more journey you must take, one more impossible dream to chase. Elon's voice cracked with emotion, but he continued. The coordinates in this letter will lead you to where I've hidden the fragment. Study it, my child. Learn from it. It holds secrets about propulsion that could change everything. Your SpaceX engines are powerful, but this could make the stars themselves within reach. Go beyond Mars, Elon. Reach for the galaxies between galaxies. With all my love, Grandmother Cora." Below the letter were new coordinates: 32,792 degrees S, 28,107 degrees E. X tugged on his father's sleeve. "Daddy, are we going on a treasure hunt?" Elon looked down at his son. Tears streamed down his face, but he was smiling. "Yes, X," he said, "the biggest treasure hunt of our lives." That night they stayed in a small guest house in Carnarvon. X fell asleep quickly, exhausted from the long journey, but Elon sat outside under the African sky, staring at the stars. Dr. Cumulo came out and sat beside him. She carried 2 cups of hot tea. "I've been waiting 37 years to give you that letter," she said softly. "Your grandmother made me promise I would only give it to you when you came looking for it, not before." "Why?" Elon asked. "Why all the secrecy?" Dr. Cumulo sipped her tea. "Because in 1989, South Africa was dangerous. Apartheid was ending, but the government was unstable. People were scared, and we had found something that could change everything." She looked up at the stars. "If the wrong people knew about that meteorite, they would have taken it. They would have used it for weapons, or sold it, or hidden it away. Your grandmother knew that. She protected it the only way she could." "By hiding it," Elon said, "and by trusting that someday someone in her family would be ready to use it properly. Someone who believed in using science to help humanity, not hurt it." Dr. Cumulo smiled at him. "She chose you, Elon, even when you were just a boy who loved computers." Elon felt tears coming again. He wiped them away quickly. "Tell me more about the meteorite," he said. "What made it so special?" Dr. Cumulo pulled out a small notebook from her pocket. Inside were hand-drawn sketches and calculations. Elon recognized his grandmother's handwriting immediately. "The fragment was small, about the size of a basketball," Dr. Cumulo explained. "But its composition was impossible. It contained elements that shouldn't exist naturally. The molecular structure was organized in ways we'd never seen, and when we tested its energy properties..." She paused, as if the memory still amazed her. "What happened?" Elon leaned forward. "It absorbed and released energy at rates that defied physics. Your grandmother spent months running calculations. She believed that if we could understand how it worked, we could create propulsion systems that would make interstellar travel possible." Elon's mind raced. He thought about SpaceX, about the Raptor engines that powered the Starship rockets, about all the years spent trying to make space travel more efficient. What if his grandmother had found the answer decades ago? "Did you publish any of this research?" he asked. Dr. Cumulo shook her head. "We couldn't. The government classified everything. Then one night in March 1989, your grandmother came to me. She said it wasn't safe anymore. She said she was going to hide the fragment where only family could find it. Then she disappeared. I never saw her again." "She went back to her farm," Elon said quietly. "She lived there for another 22 years. And she never told anyone where she hid it." "Not until now." They sat in silence for a moment. Above them, the Milky Way stretched across the sky like a river of light. Elon had seen the stars from many places: California, Texas, Cape Canaveral. But nowhere were they as bright as here in the Karoo Desert. "The coordinates she gave you," Dr. Cumulo said. "Do you know where they lead?" Elon had already checked on his phone. "Sutherland. It's about 3 hours from here. There's another observatory there." "The Southern African Large Telescope," Dr. Cumulo nodded. "One of the most powerful telescopes in the world. But the coordinates aren't for the telescope, are they?" "No," Elon said. "They're for somewhere in the wilderness nearby, somewhere remote." "When will you go?" "Tomorrow morning, early." Dr. Cumulo stood up. "I'm coming with you. I've waited too long to see what your grandmother hid, and you'll need my help to analyze whatever we find." Elon smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." Inside, X was still sleeping peacefully. Elon checked on him, pulling the blanket up to his son's chin. The stuffed rocket ship lay beside his pillow. Elon thought about all the times he'd put X to bed in Austin, in their comfortable house, with every modern convenience. That life seemed so far away now. Here in the African desert, everything was simpler, more real. He pulled out his phone and looked at his messages. His team at SpaceX had been trying to reach him. Dozens of missed calls. Hundreds of texts. The world wanted to know where he was. On social media, people were already speculating. Some thought he was sick. Others worried he'd had a breakdown. A few conspiracy theorists claimed aliens had taken him. If only they knew the truth was stranger than any conspiracy. Elon started typing a message. "I'm safe. Working on something important. Will explain soon." But then he stopped. He deleted the message. No, this secret needed to stay secret a little longer, just until he found what his grandmother had hidden, just until he understood what it all meant. He turned off his phone and went back outside. The night air was cool. Somewhere in the distance, he heard an animal call, maybe a jackal, maybe something else. The sounds of Africa at night. Marcus appeared from the shadows. "Sir, I've been scouting the area. Tomorrow's journey will be rough. The terrain around Sutherland is rocky. We'll need to hike." "That's fine," Elon said. "With all respect, sir, are you sure about bringing X? It might be dangerous." Elon thought about this. His first instinct was to protect his son, to leave him somewhere safe. But then he remembered his own childhood, how his grandmother had never sheltered him from adventure, how she'd taken him into the wilderness and taught him to be brave. X comes with us, Elon decided. This is his heritage too. Someday, he'll tell his children about the day he went treasure hunting with his father in Africa, about the day everything changed. Marcus nodded. "Understood, sir, we leave at dawn." Elon went back inside and lay down on the small bed. Sleep wouldn't come easily. His mind was too full of questions. What would they find tomorrow? What secrets had his grandmother protected for so many years? And why had she chosen him to discover them? In his mind, he could hear her voice from that last day in the hospital. The answers to tomorrow often hide in yesterday. Tomorrow he would learn what she meant. Tomorrow he would find the fragment. Tomorrow everything would change. But tonight he was just a boy from Pretoria, lying under the African stars, dreaming of impossible things becoming possible, just like he used to. The sun painted the Karoo Desert in shades of gold and orange as Elon, X, and Marcus prepared for their journey. Dr. Cumulo had joined them at dawn, carrying equipment in a worn backpack. Her eyes sparkled with excitement she'd kept hidden for 37 years. "The coordinates your grandmother left point to an area near Sutherland," Dr. Cumulo explained as they loaded into the SUV. "It's remote, but there's a reason she chose it. That region has some of the oldest rock formations in Africa." X bounced in his car seat, clutching his stuffed rocket. "Are we really going on a treasure hunt, Daddy?" Elon turned around and smiled at his son. "The best kind. X, we're hunting for something that could help us reach the stars." The drive took 3 hours on bumpy dirt roads. The landscape grew more rugged with each mile. Red rocks jutted from the earth like ancient fingers pointing at the sky. Sparse vegetation dotted the terrain, tough bushes and grasses that had learned to survive with very little water. Marcus drove carefully, avoiding the deeper ruts in the road. "Sir, we're about 15 miles from the nearest town. Cell service disappeared 20 minutes ago." "Good," Elon said quietly. "Some discoveries need silence." As they drove, Elon told X stories about his grandmother Cora. "She was one of the bravest people I ever knew. Did you know she flew an airplane all by herself from South Africa to Australia? That's thousands of miles over the ocean." X's eyes grew wide. "Wasn't she scared?" "Probably, but she did it anyway. That's what courage is, son, being scared but doing important things regardless." Dr. Cumulo pointed ahead. "There, see that cluster of rocks? That's where we need to start hiking." They parked the SUV in the shade of a massive boulder. The air was hot and dry, filled with the sound of insects and the occasional cry of a bird. Elon lifted X onto his shoulders and the group began their hike. The terrain was challenging. Loose stones rolled under their feet and thorny bushes grabbed at their clothes. But X loved every moment, pointing at lizards sunbathing on rocks and asking about every plant they passed. "Daddy, why is the dirt so red?" X asked. "It's because of iron oxide, basically rust," Elon explained, carefully stepping over a rocky patch. "Millions of years ago, there was more water here. The iron in the rocks mixed with oxygen and turned red, just like when metal gets rusty." "Oh, like the rusty gate at home." Exactly like that, buddy. You're a smart kid. Dr. Cumulo consulted Cora's map, comparing it to the landscape around them. Your grandmother was precise. She marked 3 rock formations that create a triangle. The entrance should be, she paused, scanning the area. There. Behind a thick cluster of thorn bushes, barely visible, was a dark opening in the rock face. Carved into the stone above it was a symbol, a star inside a circle. That's Grandma Cora's mark, Elon whispered, his voice tight with emotion. She used to draw this on all her letters to me. Marcus pulled back the bushes carefully, revealing a narrow entrance to a cave. I'll go first, sir. We don't know what's inside. We go together, Elon said firmly. He lifted X down from his shoulders. X, you hold my hand tight, okay? Don't let go. Okay, Daddy. Marcus clicked on his powerful flashlight and they entered the cave. The air inside was immediately cooler, a welcome relief from the desert heat. The beam of light revealed smooth walls carved by millions of years of water flow. Look at the walls, Dr. Cumulo breathed. Sand rock paintings. The flashlight illuminated ancient art, stick figures of hunters with bows, herds of animals running, and human handprints pressed onto the rock thousands of years ago. X stared in wonder. Who made these, Daddy? The Sand People, the first people who lived in this part of Africa. They were here long before any of us. They painted their stories on these walls so we would remember them. The cave narrowed as they moved deeper. Their footsteps echoed softly. Water had dripped from somewhere above for so long that it created smooth channels in the rock. After about 50 feet, the cave opened into a small chamber. Marcus swept his flashlight around the space. At the far end, they saw what they'd been searching for, a wall of loose stones that looked deliberately stacked, different from the natural rock around it. Elon's heart pounded. This is it. Working together, they carefully removed the stones. They were heavy and Elon's hands were soon scratched and dusty. X helped by carrying the smaller rocks to the side, proud to be part of the team. Behind the wall in a small hollow sat a metal case. It was handmade from steel, showing spots of rust but still intact. Carved on the top were the initials C.A.R. Cora Amelia Robinson. Elon's hands trembled as he reached for it. For a moment, he just held the case, feeling its weight, imagining his grandmother's hands placing it here decades ago. She really did it, he whispered. She kept the secret all these years. Dr. Cumulo placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Open it, Elon. She meant this for you. Elon carefully unlatched the case. The hinges creaked softly. Inside, wrapped in layers of protective cloth that had yellowed with age, was the meteorite fragment. Marcus shone his light directly on it, and everyone gasped. The fragment was about the size of a football, but its appearance was unlike anything found on Earth. It was darker than the darkest night, a blackness that seemed to absorb the flashlight beam rather than reflect it. Across its surface ran patterns that looked almost like circuit boards, geometric shapes that seemed to shift and change depending on how the light hit them. It's beautiful, X whispered. It's impossible, Dr. Cumulo corrected, but her voice was full of awe. She pulled out a portable spectrometer from her backpack. May I? Elon nodded, unable to speak. Dr. Cumulo carefully scanned the fragment with her device. The spectrometer beeped and flashed, displaying readings on its small screen. Her expression changed from excitement to disbelief to something close to fear. What is it? Marcus asked. The elements. Some of these shouldn't exist naturally. The atomic structure is. She looked up at Elon, her eyes shining with tears. Your grandmother was right. This isn't from our solar system. It might not even be from our galaxy. Elon carefully lifted the fragment. It was surprisingly light for its size, and it felt strangely warm to the touch, even though it had been in a cool cave for decades. X reached out toward it, his small hand curious. Elon gently stopped him. Not yet, son. We need to understand it first. Something this special needs to be treated with respect. But he knelt down so X could see it better. This is why we came here. This is what great-grandma Cora protected for all these years. Why? X asked simply. It was the perfect question. Elon thought about all the reasons, the technology, the scientific breakthrough, the advancement of SpaceX's mission. But looking at his son's innocent face, he realized the real answer. Because she believed in possibilities, she believed that someday, Someone in our family would be ready to use this knowledge to help everyone reach for the stars. She believed in me before I believed in myself. Inside the case was more than just the fragment. Cora had left detailed notes, yellowed papers covered in her neat handwriting and careful sketches. There were calculations, diagrams of engine designs, and theories about propulsion that were decades ahead of their time. Dr. Cumulo examined the papers with shaking hands. She was a genius. She worked on this alone, in secret, with equipment that was primitive compared to what we have now. And she still figured out things that current scientists are only beginning to understand. One page contained a letter, sealed in a plastic sleeve to preserve it. Elon opened it carefully and began to read aloud. "My dearest Elon, if you're reading this, you've already accomplished more than I could have imagined. You've built electric cars. You've sent rockets to space. But there's one more journey you must take." His voice cracked with emotion, but he continued. "This fragment holds secrets about propulsion that could change everything. Your SpaceX engines are powerful, but this could make interstellar travel possible in your lifetime. Study it. Learn from it. Go beyond Mars, my child. Reach for the stars between stars. With all my love, Grandmother Cora." The cave was silent except for the sound of distant wind whistling through the entrance. Even X seemed to understand the importance of the moment, standing quietly beside his father. Elon carefully refolded the letter and looked around at his companions. "Do you understand what this means? This isn't just about faster rockets or better technology. This is about humanity's future. This is about making the impossible possible." Marcus, usually all business, smiled. "Your grandmother knew exactly who to trust with this." "We need to be careful," Dr. Cumulo warned. "Knowledge this powerful, people will want to control it, to own it, to use it for the wrong reasons." Elon stood, still holding the fragment. "That's why we do this right. We partner with South African scientists. We publish our findings openly. We make sure this belongs to humanity, not to any one country or company." X tugged on his father's sleeve. "Daddy, can we show this to the people at SpaceX?" "Yes, son. But first, let's take a moment to say thank you to Great-Grandma Cora." Standing in that ancient cave, surrounded by paintings made by people thousands of years ago, holding a fragment from beyond their galaxy, Elon felt connected to something larger than himself. He thought about all the dreamers who came before him, the sand people who painted these walls, his grandmother who flew across oceans, every scientist and explorer who ever looked at the stars and asked, "What if?" "Thank you, Grandma Cora," he said softly. "I promise I'll use this gift wisely. I promise I'll make you proud." They carefully packed everything back into the case, the fragment, the notes, the letter. As they made their way back through the cave, past the ancient paintings and smooth stone walls, X held his father's hand tightly. "Daddy was great, Grandma Cora brave like you." Elon laughed softly. "She was braver than me, buddy. She had to be brave during harder times, with fewer tools and fewer people believing in her. Everything I am, I learned from people like her." They emerged from the cave into the bright afternoon sunlight. The Karoo Desert stretched endlessly before them, ancient and patient, keeping its secrets well. As they hiked back to the SUV, Elon's mind was already racing. He thought about the engineers at SpaceX, the materials scientists who would analyze the fragment, the propulsion specialists who would study Cora's notes. He thought about the partnerships they would build, the discoveries they would make, and the stars they would someday reach. But mostly, he thought about the little boy walking beside him, asking questions about everything he saw. This was why it mattered. This was why Cora kept her secret and why Elon would honor it properly. Not for fame or fortune, but for the children who would grow up in a world where the stars were no longer impossible dreams but real destinations. "Daddy," X said as they reached the SUV, "when we build the new rocket with Great-Grandma's discovery, can I help?" Elon lifted his son and held him close. "You're already helping, X. You're reminding me why we do this. Every question you ask, every time you look at the stars with wonder, that's the spirit that will take us beyond Mars, beyond our solar system, all the way to the stars between stars." As they drove back through the Karoo Desert, the metal case secured in the vehicle, Elon looked at the rearview mirror. In it, he could see X playing with his stuffed rocket, and beyond that, the cave where Korra's gift had waited for 37 years. The discovery in the desert wasn't just about a meteorite fragment or advanced technology. It was about family, faith, and the courage to protect something precious until the world was ready for it. It was about a grandmother's love reaching across decades to guide her grandson toward humanity's greatest adventure. And it was about a father showing his son that the most important treasures aren't found in headlines or bank accounts, but in the courage to dream impossible dreams and the determination to make them real. While Elon stood in that ancient cave in the Karoo Desert, holding his grandmother's carefully preserved secret, the rest of the world was spiraling into chaos. It started small. A reporter in Austin noticed that Elon's usual parking spot at Tesla headquarters had been empty for 3 days straight. Then a SpaceX engineer accidentally mentioned in a coffee shop that the boss is unreachable. By that evening, tech bloggers began asking questions. Where was Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, the CEO of multiple companies, the person who tweeted dozens of times a day, had gone silent? His last post on X had been 4 days ago, a simple comment about battery efficiency. Nothing since. By the second day of his absence, the speculation exploded. At SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, Gwynne Shotwell sat in an emergency meeting with the company's top executives. The conference room was tense. Phones buzzed constantly with messages from board members, investors, and journalists. "We need to say something," urged Mark Chen, the chief financial officer. Tesla's stock dropped 2% this morning. SpaceX partners are calling asking if projects are delayed. The silence is making things worse. Gwynne, a calm and steady leader who had worked with Elon for nearly 20 years, shook her head. Elon asked for radio silence. He said he'd explain when he was ready. We need to trust him. But what if something happened to him? Asked Sarah Martinez, head of communications. What if he's in trouble? Shouldn't we at least try to locate him? Marcus is with him, Gwynne reminded them. If there was danger, Marcus would have contacted us. This is something else, something Elon planned. Meanwhile, the internet had become a wild circus of theories. On social media, whereas Elon trended #1 worldwide, thousands of people posted guesses, jokes, and increasingly bizarre theories. Some thought he was meeting secretly with world leaders. Maybe he's negotiating a deal to put satellites over Africa, one popular post suggested. Others believed he was having a mental breakdown. The pressure finally got to him. Remember when he smoked on that podcast? This is worse, claimed another. The conspiracy theorists went even further. Aliens definitely abducted him. He knows too much about space, one viral video declared, showing doctored footage of UFOs near SpaceX facilities. Tech news sites published hourly updates with no new information. Day 3, still no word from Elon Musk, read one headline. Tesla stock slides as CEO remains missing, announced another. Financial analysts appeared on television, debating what this meant for his companies. Some predicted disaster. Others argued that Elon's companies were strong enough to survive without him for a few days. The man is allowed to take a vacation, one analyst said on CNBC. Everyone acts like the world stops spinning when he's not tweeting. This isn't a vacation, another analyst countered. Nobody just disappears in today's world, especially not someone with his responsibilities. Something significant is happening. At Tesla's headquarters in Austin, employees whispered in hallways and break rooms. Some were worried. Others were annoyed that their CEO had vanished during a crucial production quarter. A few defended him, saying he'd earned the right to privacy. The media camped outside Elon's properties. Camera crews waited at his Austin home, his Los Angeles residence, and even at his Boca Chica facility in Texas. Reporters stood in front of empty buildings, filling airtime with speculation. We're here at Tesla headquarters where, for the 3rd consecutive day, Elon Musk has not appeared, a CNN reporter announced, standing in a parking lot. Sources inside the company say even top executives don't know where he is. Kimball Musk, Elon's brother, received hundreds of calls from journalists. He ignored most of them but finally released a simple statement. My brother is fine. He's handling personal matters. Please respect his privacy. That statement only made things worse. What personal matters? Was someone sick? Had something happened to one of his children? The The paparazzi dug deeper, checking flight records and trying to track his private jets. Some discovered that one of SpaceX's aircraft had left Austin 4 days earlier, but its destination had been kept confidential. The mystery deepened. Investment forums exploded with panic. Should people sell their Tesla stock? Was this the beginning of something bigger? "He's done this before," one longtime investor posted, trying to calm others. "Remember when he went dark for a week and came back with the Starship design? Elon operates differently. Give him space." But others weren't convinced. "A CEO can't just vanish. This is irresponsible," another investor wrote. Meanwhile, competitors saw an opportunity. Executives at rival car companies made subtle comments about stability and reliable leadership. Tech CEOs who had always envied Elon's spotlight suddenly found themselves getting more media attention. But the people who knew Elon best, the engineers who had worked with him through SpaceX's early failures, the Tesla employees who had slept in the factory during production hell, they weren't worried. They knew this meant something big was coming. When Elon disappears, he's usually solving a problem the rest of us don't even know exists yet, one senior SpaceX engineer told his team during a meeting. "Stay focused on your work. He'll be back." At 2:47 p.m. Austin time on the fourth day, Elon's phone finally connected to a cell tower as his convoy left the deepest parts of the Karoo Desert. His phone immediately exploded with notifications. 3,000 unread emails, 800 text messages, 67 missed calls. His social media mentions had reached over 10 million. Marcus glanced at Elon from the front seat. "Sir, you might want to see this. The internet thinks you're either dead, abducted by aliens, or having a breakdown." Elon scrolled through his phone, his eyebrows rising with each headline. X sat beside him, tired from the day's adventure, playing a simple game on a tablet. "They think aliens got me," Elon chuckled. "That's actually pretty creative." Dr. Cumulo, sitting in the third row of the SUV, looked concerned. "This is what I warned you about, Elon. The world doesn't like mysteries, especially involving powerful people. You should say something." Elon thought about it. He looked at the metal case secured beside him, containing Cora's fragment. He thought about the discovery they'd made, the secret his grandmother had kept for 37 years. Some things couldn't stay hidden forever, but they needed to be revealed at the right moment in the right way. He opened his camera app and asked Marcus to pull over. They were at a high point in the desert, with the sun beginning its descent toward the horizon. Sky was painted in brilliant oranges and purples, vast and endless. "X, come here, buddy," Elon said, stepping out of the vehicle. He lifted his son onto his shoulders. X giggled, tired but happy, resting his head against his father's. The desert stretched behind them, ancient and beautiful. Elon held up his phone at arm's length and snapped a photo. In it, both he and X were silhouettes against the spectacular sunset, a father and son, small against the enormity of the African sky. He studied the photo for a moment, then began typing. The post appeared on X at exactly 3:00 p.m. Texas time. "Sometimes you need to go back to where you started to see where you're going. South Africa, you're still home. And to everyone asking what I'm doing, I'm working on something that will matter 100 years from now. Stay tuned." He pressed send. Within seconds, the notification counters began spinning impossibly fast. 100 retweets, 1,000, 10,000. The number climbed so quickly it became a blur. Back in Austin, Gwen's phone buzzed. She looked at Elon's post and smiled with relief. "There he is," she announced to the room. "South Africa, I should have guessed." The media reaction was instantaneous and intense. Breaking: Elon Musk surfaces in South Africa scrolled across every news channel. Reporters scrambled to update their stories. The tone shifted from panic to intense curiosity. Tech analysts immediately began speculating about what business deal he might be making in Africa. Was he building a new factory, launching satellites, meeting with government officials? But some people, particularly those who knew Elon's history, understood this was something more personal. Posts about his South African childhood began circulating. Old interviews where he talked about Pretoria resurfaced. People remembered that this was where his story began. Within an hour, journalists had tracked his general location to the northern Cape Province. News helicopters were dispatched from Johannesburg and Cape Town, racing toward the Karoo. Television reporters stood in front of maps, pointing at the vast desert region. This area is home to some of the world's most advanced astronomy facilities, one explained. Could Musk be working on a space-related project here? The hashtag #Elon in Africa began trending alongside Where is Elon? Photos of the Karoo Desert flooded social media. People who had never heard of South Africa's northern Cape suddenly became experts, posting facts about the region. The Karoo has the clearest skies in Africa, one post explained. It's one of the best places on Earth for stargazing. Makes sense for a space guy. But the conspiracy theorists weren't satisfied. He's searching for alien artifacts in the desert, claimed one viral post. South Africa has tons of unexplained phenomena. He knows something we don't. Ironically, that theory wasn't entirely wrong. Tesla's stock immediately bounced back, rising 3% in after-hours trading. Investors were relieved. He was alive, he was working. That was all they needed to know. Elon's team at SpaceX gathered around computers analyzing his post word by word. Something that will matter 100 years from now, read Gwynn aloud. That's not a business deal, that's something bigger, way bigger. In the SUV, now speeding away from the cave site, Elon watched the reactions roll in on his phone. X had fallen asleep against him, exhausted from the day's adventure. You've started a wildfire, Marcus observed, checking his own phone for security updates. Within an hour, this whole region will be swarming with reporters. Then we need to move fast, Elon replied. Dr. Cumulo, how quickly can we get to the airport? 3 hours if we take the direct route through Carnarvon. Do it, and Marcus, make sure our plane is ready for immediate departure. The sun continued its descent, painting the Karoo in deepening shades of red and gold. Somewhere behind them, news helicopters were already in the air, searching the vast desert for any sign of the world's most famous entrepreneur. But Elon was thinking ahead. He composed another message, this time to his core SpaceX team, just 12 people who he trusted completely. Be at Starbase tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. Bring the senior materials team and propulsion specialists. What I'm bringing home will change everything we thought we knew about space travel. This stays confidential until we understand it fully. No leaks, trust me on this. He looked out the window at the passing landscape, the same red earth he'd run across as a child, the same endless sky his grandmother had loved. X stirred slightly, murmuring something in his sleep about rockets and stars. Daddy, why is everyone looking for us? X had asked earlier before falling asleep. Elon had smiled and ruffled his son's hair. Because people are curious, son. But the real treasure isn't in being found, it's in having something worth searching for. Now, as the convoy raced toward the airport with the world watching, Elon held both his sleeping son and his grandmother's gift, the two most precious things in his world at that moment. The headlines would continue. The speculation would grow wilder. The stock prices would fluctuate. But none of that mattered. What mattered was safely getting Cora's discovery back to Starbase, where the real work would begin. What mattered was honoring a grandmother's faith by doing something worthy of her sacrifice. What mattered was showing his son that some journeys require courage, especially when the whole world is watching. His phone buzzed with a message from Kimball. Glad you're okay, brother. Mom wants to know if you found what you were looking for. Elon smiled and typed back, more than I could have imagined. Tell Mom that Grandma Cora was right about everything. The SUV raced through the gathering dusk, carrying secrets that would soon change humanity's future, pursued by a world that didn't yet understand what it was chasing. The SpaceX jet cut through the darkness at 40,000 feet, crossing back over the Atlantic Ocean. Below, the lights of ships dotted the black water like scattered stars. Inside the cabin, X slept peacefully in the fully reclined seat, his stuffed rocket tucked under his arm. Elon sat across from him, unable to sleep despite his exhaustion. The metal case containing the meteorite fragment rested in a specially secured compartment nearby, too precious to leave anywhere else, even for a moment. Every few minutes, Elon glanced at it, still struggling to believe what they'd found. Marcus moved quietly through the cabin, checking security updates on his tablet. Sir, the media frenzy has reached new levels. Every major news outlet is running your story. They've identified Dr. Cumulo. Reporters are camped outside her home in Johannesburg. Elon frowned. Make sure she has security. She didn't ask for this attention. Already arranged. I've also coordinated with our Starbase team. They're clearing the secure lab and preparing analysis equipment. Dr. Mueller is flying in from Los Angeles tonight. Good, Elon paused. Tom needs to see this. He'll understand what it means better than anyone. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom. Mr. Musk, we're making excellent time. We'll be landing at Starbase in approximately 4 hours around 4:30 a.m. Central Time. Elon acknowledged with a thumbs up, then turned to his laptop. The blank email to his SpaceX team glowed on the screen. He'd started writing it 3 times and deleted it each time. How do you explain something like this? How do you tell people that everything they've been working toward just became possible in ways they never imagined? He looked at X's sleeping face, peaceful and innocent, and thought about the future his son would inherit. Then he began typing. The words flowed easier this time, coming from somewhere deep and honest. Team, I've spent the last week in South Africa, the country where I was born. I didn't go there for business meetings or factory tour. I went there to follow a trail left by my grandmother, Cora Amelia Robinson, an extraordinary woman who died in 2011 but whose influence on my life has never faded. When I was a child in Pretoria, being bullied at school and feeling like I didn't belong anywhere, my grandmother would tell me to look at the stars. She'd say, Elon, those lights have traveled millions of years to reach your eyes. You're connected to something bigger than your problems, bigger than this country, bigger than Earth itself. I thought those were just comforting words from a grandmother trying to help a lonely kid. I didn't know she meant them literally. What I found in South Africa will accelerate our mission to make humanity a multiplanetary species. I'm bringing back something that will fundamentally change how we think about propulsion, energy, and our place in the universe. I can't share all the details yet. We need to study it carefully, ethically, and in partnership with South African scientists who help preserve this discovery. But I want you to know, everything we've built at SpaceX, every failure we've learned from, every success we've celebrated has been preparing us for this moment. We're not just going to Mars anymore. We're going to reach the stars between stars. What I'm bringing back could reduce interstellar travel time from thousands of years to decades. This isn't science fiction. This isn't wishful thinking. This is our next reality. Some of you will think I'm crazy. That's fine. I've been called crazy for saying we'd land and reuse rockets. I was called crazy for saying we'd build a car company that would change the auto industry. I was called crazy for believing humans could live on Mars in our lifetimes. But here's what I learned on this trip, watching my 4-year-old son explore the desert where I grew up. The best questions come from people who haven't learned what's supposed to be impossible yet. X asked me why rocks are red, why the sky is so big, and whether we could touch the stars. He didn't ask if it was possible, he asked how. That's the mindset we need. Not can we, but how will we? My grandmother kept a secret for 37 years, waiting for the right moment and the right person to discover it. She believed in possibilities before the world was ready for them. She believed in me before I believed in myself. Now I'm asking you to believe in what comes next. Trust that what seems impossible today is just tomorrow's breakthrough waiting to happen. I'll be at Starbase tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Core team only for the initial briefing. This stays confidential until we fully understand what we have. But soon, we'll share this with the world, because reaching the stars isn't about SpaceX winning a race. It's about humanity taking its next giant leap together. Also, on a personal note, I brought my son with me on this journey because I wanted him to understand something important. The most valuable things aren't bought or sold. They're discovered, protected, and passed down. My grandmother gave me this gift across decades. Someday, my son will carry it forward. That's how humanity progresses, not through individual genius, but through generations building on each other's dreams. See you at sunrise. We have work to do. Elon. PSX says to tell everyone that the desert has really cool lizards and that he found 3 different kinds of interesting rocks. He's 4, but he's already thinking like a scientist. That gives me hope for the future. Elon read through the email twice, made a few small edits, then saved it as a draft. He'd send it just before landing, giving his team enough time to prepare but not enough time to leak anything to the media. He closed his laptop and moved to sit beside X. His son's small chest rose and fell with peaceful breaths. Elon gently brushed hair from X's forehead, careful not to wake him. "You're going to grow up in an incredible world, buddy," he whispered. Grandma Cora made sure of that. Marcus appeared with a cup of coffee. "Thought you might need this, sir. You haven't slept in 26 hours. Elon accepted it gratefully. "Can't sleep. Too much spinning in my head." "I've been with you for 8 years, Marcus said, settling into a nearby seat. "I've seen you work through impossible problems, handle crisis after crisis, but I've never seen you like this. This is different." "It is different." Elon sipped the coffee, gazing out the window at the darkness. "Everything I've done up to now has been building on other people's work. Better batteries, reusable rockets, electric cars. Those were innovations, improvements, but this..." He glanced toward the secured case. "This is something entirely new. This is a door opening to possibilities we haven't even imagined yet." "Are you worried about what people will say, the skeptics?" Elon laughed softly. "Marcus, people have been skeptical of me my entire life. When I said I'd start an internet payment company, they said it wouldn't work. When I said I'd build electric cars, they laughed. When I said I'd land rockets on drone ships in the ocean, they called it impossible. Skepticism is just noise. What matters is whether you're willing to do the work." "But this is bigger than rockets or cars." "Exactly, which is why we have to do it right." Elon leaned forward, his voice intense. "My grandmother hid this during apartheid because she knew powerful people would try to control it. She understood that some discoveries are too important to belong to governments or corporations. They belong to humanity." He pulled out his phone and looked at the photo of Cora, young, standing in front of her airplane, fearless. "She trusted me with this, not because I'm rich or famous, but because she believed I'd use it to help everyone, not just the privileged few. I can't let her down. I can't let humanity down." The plane flew on through the night. Below, the coast of Africa gave way to open ocean. Somewhere down there, ships carried cargo across the same waters that explorers had once navigated by stars alone. The world was always moving, always discovering, always reaching forward. Elon opened his laptop again, this time composing a different message, one to Dr. Cumulo and a select group of South African scientists. "Dr. Cumulo and colleagues, thank you for your trust and partnership in preserving my grandmother's discovery. What we found in the Karoo belongs to South Africa as much as it belongs to humanity. I'm proposing a full partnership between SpaceX and South African research institutions. We'll establish a joint research facility in the Northern Cape, bringing resources and expertise while ensuring that South African scientists are equal partners in every discovery. Any technology we develop will be shared openly through published research. Any commercial applications will include profit-sharing agreements that benefit South African communities, particularly in the Karoo region where this was found. My grandmother was born in Canada but found her courage in South Africa. She loved this country. The least I can do is honor that love by making sure this discovery lifts up the place that shaped her and shaped me. Let's build something together that the world has never seen, a truly international effort to reach the stars. With respect and gratitude, Elon." He sent this message immediately. Some things couldn't wait. X stirred and opened his eyes, blinking in the dim cabin light. "Daddy, are we still flying?" "Yes, buddy, we're almost home." "Did we really find great-grandma's treasure?" Elon smiled and lifted X onto his lap. "We really did, and you know what? You were the best treasure hunter a dad could ask for." X beamed with pride. "Can I tell people about it?" "Not yet. It's still a secret for a little while, but soon everyone will know. And when they do, I'll tell them that you were there, that you helped, that you were brave." "Will we really go to the stars, Daddy, like you said?" Elon looked out the window at the slowly brightening horizon. Dawn was coming, painting the edge of the world in soft gold. "Yes, X, we really will. Maybe not tomorrow or next year, but in your lifetime, humans will walk on planets around other stars. They'll live in places we haven't even discovered yet. And when they do, they'll remember that it started with a grandmother who kept a secret, a father who went looking for it, and a little boy who asked the right questions." X yawned and snuggled closer. "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, son. more than all the stars. As X drifted back to sleep, Elon held him close and watched the sunrise spread across the sky. In a few hours, they'd land at Starbase. His team would see the fragment. The real work would begin. The world would react in ways he couldn't fully predict. But right now, in this quiet moment above the Atlantic, Elon felt something he hadn't felt in years: peace. Not the peace of having arrived, but the peace of knowing with absolute certainty that he was on the right path. His grandmother had believed in him when he was just a bullied kid in Pretoria. She kept her faith across decades, across continents, across the boundary between life and death. She trusted that he would find what she left behind and do something worthy with it. He pulled out the photograph of Cora one more time, studying her confident smile, her fearless eyes. "I'm bringing it home, Grandma," he whispered. "And I promise, I swear, I'll use it to take us to the stars, just like you dreamed." The plane flew toward Texas, carrying a sleeping child, a determined father, and a secret that would soon transform humanity's future. Behind them, the sun rose over Africa, the ancient continent where humanity was born, and where, in a small cave in the Karoo Desert, humanity's next great journey had been waiting to begin. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom again. "Mr. Musk, we're beginning our descent into Starbase. Should be on the ground in 30 minutes. Elon pressed the button to respond. "Thank you, Captain. It's been an extraordinary flight." He sent the email to his SpaceX team, watching the sent confirmation appear on his screen. In a few minutes, 12 of the most brilliant minds in aerospace engineering would read his words and prepare themselves for something impossible. Through the window, he could see the Gulf of Mexico coastline appearing in the distance. Somewhere down there, the massive Starship rockets stood waiting, silver giants ready to carry humanity beyond Earth. But now, they would go farther, so much farther. X mumbled something in his sleep, and Elon smiled. Whatever happened next, whatever challenges, whatever skepticism, whatever obstacles, it would all be worth it. Because his grandmother had believed in impossible dreams. Because his son deserved a future among the stars. Because sometimes, the most important journeys start when nobody's watching and end with the whole world transformed. The plane descended through the early morning sky, carrying home not just a man and his son, but the seeds of humanity's greatest adventure yet. And that was the end of Elon Musk's secret journey, a story of family, discovery, and dreams that reach beyond the stars. We'd love to know, where are you listening from? Drop your location in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for many more interesting and inspiring videos just like this one. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. Let's spread kindness, curiosity, and awareness together. Who knows? Your share might inspire someone to chase their own impossible dream. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the most important journeys start when nobody's watching. Until next time, keep looking at the stars.